I think a lot of guys feel that way. Don't you?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of guys just don't open up to their spouse because they think they're going to disappoint them about where they're at financially.
Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Yeah, I told him I'ma hit it out of stands. I deserve another 100.
Welcome to another episode of the Married Game Podcast. We are the voice you trust when it comes to lust, and we are who you hire when she lacks desire. And sometimes life will kick you in the ass and you're expected to grin and bear it. But I am so excited today to introduce you to my really good friend, Garrett.
What's up? Nice little drop there.
I'm so amped about this show. I'm so amped to have you on. And it's for someone that I feel so close to you. I feel like you're one of my really, really, really fucking close friends. We have so much experience together in some things that were really nerve-wracking for both of us. And when you go through those experiences, like there's a feeling of understanding. I feel like you've been there for me in my moments. You were literally there the day Jessie said she left me 8 years ago.
No, you just left me.
Yeah.
I was sitting next to him. Next thing I know, you're out.
I'm out. I mean, the comedy, this is my intro. It might take a minute. This is somebody who I went on your tour with you. We started comedy together. I really got out of it. You kept pursuing it. And then you're like, hey, I'm doing this 15 city, like legitimate tour, selling out all these beautiful spots. And I go and do 5 shows with you. And we have the best fucking time.
So much fun having you there, dude.
You helped me walk through putting together my first book, Private Money Secrets. And I was like, you were the guy that's like, man, just do it. Like, just do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to just do it. I did it. The comedy, the fun we had when you, me, and Garrett got to go and do that together, the party afterwards.
Dude, it's so funny because we go to the comedy store, right? And I just
Garrett, welcome to the show, bro.
Yeah, I tell my manager, I'm like, hey, I've got openers. Don't worry about it, because he wanted to have someone open. I'm like, no, I got the openers. He's like, tell me their names. I'm like, okay. He's like, I never heard of him. I'm like, well, one of them will be his first time doing comedy. The other one, we started together. And he's like, no, dude, this is the comedy store. That you can't do that. It's like, it's already done. Advertisements have gone out. Like, tickets are sold. And I just remember you get up there and you start going. He goes, like, he just gave me like from across the room, like, I should have trusted you. Then you helped Garrett. And he looks over and he's like, I don't know what to say, because how did you just pull this off? I'm like, oh, both these guys got so much stage presence and charisma. This is going to happen. And
that is what you are. You're a cheerleader. I'm going to continue my introduction. You're a cheerleader. I felt like you've always been rooting for me in my corner, no matter what. Just always just like, I'm rooting for you. Funny as shit. Our early experiences of just getting to know each other, you coming and speaking on the Amplify stage, your openness about things that
dude, that's where comedy happened, was that Amplify stage.
Yeah.
Because you kept saying, oh, next speaker's fucking hilarious. And I was like, and you're like, dude, we're running short on time. You need to be succinct and you got to be out there in 45 minutes. You kept saying I'm hilarious. I'm like, oh shit. I told a few jokes. They laughed. So I called the dude when I left your stage and said, what are you doing tomorrow? I want to write some jokes and set an open mic. Yeah. And I set that open mic.
Dude, I feel like we've been that for each other for like the last 8 years that we've known each other. And in so many different veins, man. Like you have blown my mind. You've written, 2 really, really amazing, you've written a lot of amazing books, but the ones that have touched me the most, What Would the Rockefellers Do? You just released a second version of this, which is climbing the charts and doing awesome.
Yeah, and it's number 1 yesterday with we're not in the middle of the campaign. It's just number 1 in financial risk management, which is a funny topic because it's boring as shit.
Yeah.
But it's like,
they got a comedian leading the charge.
I got it. It's like in the top 100 for 3 versions of it right now. The audiobook, the hardcover and softcover. So it's really cool. That thing outsold every book I've ever written combined. It's crazy. It sold hundreds of thousands of copies. And it's the book that I didn't expect to do much.
Here's the thing though. I gotta pause for just a second. Yeah. People write books like this, right? And it's like leaves a mark kind of on the financial story of a lot of people's lives. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. These types of books that read it and you go, oh, I can't see this thing the same again. But you're him. You're my friend. You're the guy who wrote the book. So we have so many topics to cover and so many things, but this book really, Money Unmasked, I think being
I loved getting your audios and videos while you're reading it.
Bro.
It meant a lot.
Bro. Oh, so here's the thing. This show, it's like 95% dudes, and they care about two things: getting paid and getting laid.
Yep.
And when you rise your standards in both, life, the quality of life is sweeter. It is better. I can tell you as somebody who's climbing the ladder on both more than most people, and it's just fucking sweet. You helped me unlock so many fucking.
That's great since the subtitle says unlock.
Yeah. Yeah, unlearned, bro. You nailed it. I felt like you were in my brain writing this to help me get rid of the scarcity that was lovingly passed on to me by somebody who didn't know any better.
Right, doing their best.
Yeah. Okay.
Filled with fear.
You are the man, in my opinion, the guy that says, I'm going to go do something. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to redo something. I'm going to go after it. And you actually, you do it to the nth degree. That there's not a lot of people in society that do that. You have done it actually really fucking well. So we have to talk about that.
All right.
So the thing, you're not just to everybody else out there, you're the money guy. To me, you're one of my real close friends, Garrett, who knows way more about money than I do. And when you speak, you came out to our Ascend Brotherhood. There was like, I don't know, 16, 17 guys in the room or something. And as soon as you open your mouth and we're sharing the things about money, everyone's like, oh, hold on. You just say it from a way that it makes my ears go, huh, because of the abundance. I remember the line you said probably about 7 years ago when you're like, dude, fuck budgeting. And I was like, okay, why? And he's like, because it's not about scrimping and saving. It's about how do we create more value in the world? And that was the first unlock. I was like, once you unlock something like that in a man's brain, you go, okay, I'm endeared to this motherfucker because he's helped me see. So help us see, brother.
Yeah, the craziest thing about finance, and I wouldn't have known without going through some of the history that I went through, is that almost everything we're indoctrinated with prevents wealth. So here's an example. Hey, one day you'll have so much money that you can finally enjoy life when you're too fucking old to enjoy it. So everybody's missing all the experiences and the moments. And by the way, what's the biggest reason why marriage sucks is because dudes aren't present. You taught me that.
Yeah.
Dudes aren't present. Why aren't they present? Because there's a thing called the productivity conundrum. This is what the productivity conundrum is. Someone gets married. They're like, I have to provide. So I'm going to work my ass off to provide for this family. And the spouse is like, where the fuck are you? Who's the guy that I dated? When you're with me, you're thinking about business or working all the time and there's no attention here. And you're like, but I'm doing this for you. That's the great lie. Every man, I'm doing this for you. No, we're doing it for our own insecurities. We're doing it for our own like fulfillment of these voids that we didn't fill. And then we're wondering why they don't want to have sex with us because we're not ever there. But then when it's time for sex, yeah, they better be there. Because look at all this shit I'm sacrificing. But it's all a huge lie. And by the way, it doesn't actually create as much wealth as you would think because wealth is a game of collaboration. And when people are in scarcity, it's a game of isolation. And isolation leads to guilt and shame. And why they won't share with their spouse what they feel is they feel like they're going to let them down. Hey, I don't know if I'm providing well enough. That's why I'm working so hard. I want to feel like a man. And the way to do that is to provide this life of your wildest dreams. By the way, I can't be there for it because I'm too busy working. Right? You can just see the whole productivity conundrum.
Oh,
and because
dude,
they just won't open up and share.
Yeah. Every man has felt that.
Yeah. I don't want to tell my wife when I make a bad investment or when I'm feeling some fear about a new thing that I'm doing, you know? But the fact that I do is why you said, hey, you just go for shit all the time. Well, I just share with my wife and she's a great mirror and sounding board and lets me go through my process and helps me through those insecurities because I'm not isolated and alone in my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. You could tell them about your background.
Yeah.
Coal miner, 5th generation.
4th. Yeah. So my great grandfather, both my grandfathers and my dad were all coal miners. And I've never stepped foot in a coal mine because my parents were like, hell no, not for you. But I grew up in like this small coal mining town where everybody invested in me. I had teachers that put me in business competitions to people that worked with my mom that taught me income statements and balance sheets as a kid, you know, learned how to speak so I could present these businesses and win awards with it. And that was like this boost of confidence and,
Yeah.
you know, like just feeling like people cared.
Yeah. Like when you spoke, it actually mattered.
Yeah. It's like, dude, the first time I ever really spoke, I was 15 years old. It was a panel of judges presenting my business that had $700 of net income. And I won third place and won $500. I was like, I should be a fucking speaker, dude. This you know, cleaning cars shit. This is stupid.
Oh, that's so fucking great, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, so
I was as nervous for that speech as my first stand-up set.
because that's what I was gonna ask you
Just
about.
as nervous, maybe more.
Yeah, stand-up, your first stand-up was it's a real fucking zinger, isn't it?
It was August 2017. I invited 6 rows of people to the open mic in Wise Guys. 6 rows of people. And I have friends being like, hope you don't suck. Don't fuck it up. That's what they're saying before I go up. I was like, well, I can't back out now. But dude, like I was getting like almost like I was not in my body right before they called me to go up on stage.
100%.
I was just like, am I really going to do this?
Yeah.
And I just watched the set this week because someone filmed it from their iPhone. And at first, I don't even touch the mic, dude. It just stays in the mic stand.
Really?
But when I tell my first joke, it just crushes. Get applause break in an open mic, partially because of my friends. And I was like, then you can see I start getting a little bit more comfortable. But 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and I was addicted, dude. I left that stage. We went to a restaurant. I brought 15 people out. I just felt like no drugs could supply that feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It is the greatest fucking release. It's the greatest release. One of my best sets ever was the one you and I were at in Vegas.
Yeah, and I just bombed on that night.
Yeah, but it was just I remember because you and I starting anything, once you master a few skills, you realize, oh, this game is about mastering a skill and working through your fear of mastering it. And so you and I were like started comedy like right around the same time.
Yep.
We're sharing each other's bits, we're talking, we're calling on the phone. Like we're both really invested in each other getting better because the more I gave of myself to making you better,
Yeah, you're
the more
putting me on the stage in Vegas. I'm putting you on the stage up in Utah.
yeah, and there's this we're truly living these principles. You're talking about collaboration, and that collaboration made us both better. And so I'm on. We're getting in on Vegas, and I think it was your first time on anything Vegas, right?
Yeah, it was my first Vegas.
Okay,
show.
so it's a real casino. It's the Big D Casino or whatever, Big D. At any rate, it's the D Casino, or maybe it was the Grand. I don't remember,
It's a
but
Big D, yeah.
Big D, and we're there, and my buddy, who has been getting funny with me, is now seeing me on the Vegas stage, and I had the laughter break. I had to just stop. And I was like, this is all you could ever fucking want is to have your boy who's been learning this with you being right there watching you crush. And then you had almost the exact opposite experience, but it was still so fucking awesome. And most people would never put themselves through that.
Right. What's interesting is,
it's so out of body, dude. It's so out of body.
You're like, dude, it happens. You were just like cool as could be about the whole thing. It's probably the worst set I've ever had. I re-listened to it. It wasn't as bad as I thought in retrospect.
Yeah.
But what happened was there's 3 women I didn't handle them. They were bachelorette party, loud.
Yeah.
And my lesson was you just acknowledge what's in the room no matter what.
Yeah.
If I would have just acknowledged it, made fun of them, addressed it, but I ignored it, which made it unfunny. And then I'm in my head. And anytime you're in your head and not with the crowd, it's not funny.
Yeah.
If you're thinking a thought that you're not saying, it destroys humor.
Yeah, it really does. But how could you have learned that unless you went through that?
Right. I went through it and you were just like, hey, man, it happens. Because I was feeling pretty bad. And then Carrie's like, dude, Keith handled that so well. You're just like, hey, man, it's all good. I've seen you on funny sets.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. And then I got my chance at the Dirty at 12:30, which you guys didn't make it, but that was probably my best, maybe one of my highlights of my comedy career of all time. Because it's like such a prestigious stage, and to have them just losing their shit on your stuff, and you're like, that's that release. So it's, I wanted to know if this process was like for you. It's really, really scary, but the payoff is so fucking huge that that you're willing to go through it.
There's one really simple equation in life. Raise the stakes and life gets better. Raise the stakes. So it's like, yeah. Like, think about how did I raise the stakes in comedy? I want to get something on a streaming service.
Yeah.
I want the world's best. Like, I watch comedy specials now, and how normally at the end it'll just push you to whatever the next thing is. I look and I'm like, oh, Jay Lafayette's in this one. He did all the visual for mine. this, I just look at all the people that were on my crew that were way like they're with the best of the best.
Yeah.
But I just won over one person who happens to have created the Comedy Hall of Fame and was an executive producer for me. But like, I just raised the stakes. And that night I did 4 hours on stage, 2-hour shows. I'd never done more than 33 minutes. 33 was the longest set I'd ever done. And I did 2-hour shows that night.
Because it was in the pocket.
Because I knew we were filming it. It was all there. And it was like, and the thing is, I had an awful rehearsal the night before.
Oh, shit.
Because we did Zoom for the people who couldn't make it in.
Yeah.
And I had just a few people that were in person, but it was mostly crew that was looking at like how I moved and seeing what the shots would be.
Yeah.
And I was in my head, I was like, I'm tired. And I kept saying, I don't know. And then when it was over, one of my friends, Sally's like, oh, you're so courageous. This is great. We wish we could be there to support you, but it's just great you're doing this. And 10 minutes of interaction, my manager grabbed me and goes, who was the dude at the last 10 minutes? That's who's going to show up tomorrow. And he started telling me about all these major comedians that had horrible rehearsals. He's like, it's a good omen. And I just had like a spiritual moment the next morning. I was getting acupuncture and it was like, I just am going to make the mistakes. I'm just going to let whatever happen. And I'm just going to acknowledge the mistakes. And there was times I was so present with the crowd, I forgot where the hell I was in the set.
Oh, shit.
And then my manager would say it over the microphone and it sounded like God. So I just joked about it. And it was awesome. It was like one of the most amazing nights. And you can see my wife laughing on camera, which is, that's the game.
Oh,
like,
my God, bro. Yes. Okay. So raise the stakes.
Raise the stakes. That's the game. So like, even in my marriage, I had a place from 2008 to 2010, mediocre marriage, like mediocre. I did this, I sent Garrett to this too, life book, and you do this assessment of 12 categories of your life. And my 2 worst categories were health and marriage. And so I was like, all right, what am I going to do about this? And the marriage was way harder than the health, because health, I just hired a trainer.
Yeah.
Hired someone to make food for me. It was like, I was just in a place where I could do that. But marriage is way more emotional. And so what I did was I called the 3 people that were older than me and had the best marriages. And I said, what would it take for us to get together for a weekend? My wife gets to interview your wives. I interview you guys. I want to know your best practices. And then I just want to have like a commitment to each other's ceremony, because we're just not in a great place. And the thing is, things I had told my wife that she's like, whatever. When the women told her, she's like, I'll try it on.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, we got to put each other first. Kids are second.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know if you're worth it. You're
of course.
Go work. And then I was like, hey, we need to get some help at the house so that you're not just with the kids all the time, even if it's a part-time nanny. It was just like certain things. But when she heard it from them, she's like, okay. And then one of my friends, he just had this penthouse place in Chicago, gave it to us for the week right after that. And they put a box of cards where we just did all this cool stuff, like restaurants, shopping. And it was like the best week of sex of our whole life. It was just insane, right?
Yeah.
But I came out of that saying, all right, first off, I have to have a vision for my marriage because I have a vision for my business.
Yeah.
So my vision in my marriage is a premier romantic and an extraordinary husband. And so our next anniversary, I had a quartet that played. I had someone film from up above. She didn't know they were filming. I surprised her with all of her friends showing up and her favorite foods. And the 3 couples I went with, they're like, damn, dude, like Casanova. I'm like, yeah, because I had a vision. Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even when we were coming out of that, it was like, she wanted to know if she could trust me.
Yeah.
Right. Like, great, these grand gestures, whatever, but like, who are you going to be day to day? And so it was just like, I'm going to be I date you, and you don't have to worry about what the date's going to be. It's going to be epic. If you want some input, we'll do a weekly meeting. A weekly meeting, you can tell me what's going on with the kids, what big purchases we're making, how I'm doing on a scale of 1 to 10 as a husband. This is the deal. If I'm a 10 out of 10, that's great. A 9 out of 10 is, I've definitely done something that bothered her. Let's address that one thing. An 8 out of 10 is, we're in a pretty bad spot. She's saying 8 to be nice.
Oh.
But there's definitely some issues, because the worst score is a 7. A 7 is like, I don't even want to see you, but she's too nice to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I knew the code. It's like, what would have to change for me to be a 10? What would you need to see from me, right? And I think about the things that you teach.
Like what?
I think about like being impeccable with your word, right? We're so impeccable with our word in business so often, but not in our marriage. And I just remember that just stuck with me watching your videos, seeing you on stage. I'm like, and then being fun. You're like, remember what it was like to date? What about, what was that like? Sitting in the driveway, listen to a song, take an extra hour before you go in, like all that kind of stuff, right? There's nothing else that's important. It's just them. Like I just think of those things. And so, you know, date night, you know, weekly meeting, especially when the kids were young, and then having someone that could support us. And I actually got a date night pad back when we had young kids.
Nice.
Because
Tell me
there's
about
nothing that would ruin an orgasm more than little kids.
that. Yeah.
Because she doesn't want them to hear anything.
Yeah.
So the sex at home is always going to be like, what if the kid's here?
Yeah.
So I got this apartment,
Oh yeah.
and some of it was inspired by the penthouse that John Butcher had us stay in.
Yeah.
Like he had like, you could push a button, certain music would go on, certain
Yeah.
scents through the whole thing. It was just like it was a fuck pad. That was
Yeah.
basically what it was. So I was like, all right, so I got this apartment.
He created a container
Yeah.
for what he wanted to experience.
And I went all in. I went to Agent Provocateur, bought some amazing shit. I painted the wall red as an accent wall in the room. I got shredded, took pictures, had me, you know, she thought those were embarrassing.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be badass.
Yeah. You put pictures of you on the wall on the fuck pad?
Yeah, like where I was flexing my back and shit. And she
That's-
just, like, when people would come over, she'd hide them under the bed.
Yes. But dude, this effort is
But I had
fucking
I
insane.
had like the scents, like I had hundreds of candles. I had like a black box. I could put all those in. There was just like, what would make that room transform? What was crazy is the first time I brought her there, I was like, I had a police uniform that was in the closet. And I don't know, she had never been there. So when I went in to put the police uniform on and come out, she was always like, have I done something wrong? And she's already like laying there with her pants off. I was like, how did she know? Like, it was like so epic, right? But like just having that date night pad where we could cook. Sometimes, dude, we just would go there and sleep because we had young kids. It was
Yeah.
like set an alarm at midnight. We'd go back home, relieve the nanny. But
Yeah.
it was just like, that was our place. Now the cabin's that place for us.
Yeah.
When our kids are old enough, we could just go up to our cabin, go on a Friday, come home on a Sunday. You know, sometimes it's super chill, sometimes it's super romantic. It just kind of depends on what mood we're in. But like just showing her that I'm putting her first, that she can count on me long term, that impeccable with the word. And then just, you know, ebbs and flows of life and business. I realized there are times I wasn't fun.
Mm.
You know, too in my head. I'm too, you know, caught up in what's going on and like not making her laugh and not taking her out and having a good time and that kind of stuff.
What? Okay, so how are things going now?
I'd say we're like at a 9 out of 10,
Wow.
probably. Like, you know,
Are you still doing all that like creative, fun, fuck bad stuff?
the cabin is what's taken over for that. And
Okay.
like she actually did that for the cabin. Like when you go into our room, she's got these lights that are hanging that have different, like you can set them really low. And she's got this thing that says you're my favorite person above the bed. And just like when you open, you looking out at the most beautiful scenery. So it's, you
Wow.
know, it's
Bro,
definitely got
that's-
a romantic vibe to it. We
those
got
are
record
epic.
player there, tons of records, like her favorite type of records that would get her in the mood, from like funny ass shit like Lionel Richie to, you know,
Oh my
John
God.
Mayer to Frank Sinatra. And so we have all that. And this is a place that we can go and just be the two of us. We could walk the river, you know. Yeah. I always make her coffee.
Okay, what was the archetype you're called? Legendary what? Or premier?
Premier, romantic, and extraordinary husband.
Bro, these things you're talking about doing and setting up, that personifies that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it was like, dude, even the cabin, what happened was we had this little cabin. I bought 10 acres. We were going to build this amazing dream cabin.
Mhm.
And then I take her there after I bought it. And she's like, this is too steep. When we have kids or grandkids, they're going to get hurt. And I'm like, well, I bought this little starter cabin that we were just going to use as a staging place while we built that. And then she kind of liked that cabin. So I was like, cool. So we kept that for a long time. But after a while, like as we got more and more family members, like we went up there once and I'm like, I feel like I've been on a bender. And all I did was not sleep because it was, you could hear every fart and everybody get up in the night to use the bathroom. And so on the drive home, we just wrote our ideal list and found that exact cabin.
Really?
Right. And so we found is like a lodge. It's just beautiful. It's like, so she was participating in everything that she wanted. She wanted big trees. She wanted, you know, aspens. We have all that. I wanted water. Like we wanted logs. We wanted a loft. Like, yeah, we co-created that. Like, I think we manifested it is what happened.
Yeah.
You know, because it was under contract at the time that we came up with it and it fell out of contract. And those people tried to come back and buy it from us.
Wow.
And so we just have amazing times up there, you know. Like we went up there this weekend. We just went up on a Friday. All my college roommates and my 2 college roommates and their wives came. We just laughed and had a good time. Then they left and my wife and I stayed up there one more night. Just, you know, relaxed, watched a bunch of The Office, laughed, joked around.
You got to just date again.
Just hang.
It's,
Yeah.
dude, manifesting, you said you talk about manifesting, but what I'm seeing you is you're intentionally creating exactly what the thing you want in your life. You're like, I'm a romantic, so therefore we're gonna have it. We're gonna have a fuck pad, or we're gonna. I mean, we call this our stabbing cabin, right? We've fucked all over this place a lot, and we love it here. It's fun. The back porch, the whatever. It's all of it's great, and you create. It's like it creates this side chick vibe. And it allows people to unleash their freak even more, knowing we're intentionally coming to create this environment to let these fucking primal instincts unfold on each other. And you're doing it with your wife. And that's the kind of shit you would want to do with you would romanticize in your head of like, what would be a really fucking fun time? That you went and created it.
Yeah.
That's the essence of what it fucking means to be a man. Think of something that you really desire and don't wish it. You just go do it.
And then
it's fucking epic, Garrett.
The couple secret things that I think that help the most, and what I continue to remind myself I should get better at, is like there's times that we'll go on a date and I just have a list of questions. And I'll just ask the questions to her. And she loves being asked the questions and have me listen, because sometimes I'm a talker, as you know. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's been like a really epic thing for us to connect, is just, asking those questions on a regular basis. And the second thing is to go back in time and revisit, and me tell her what I was thinking when I was dating her, when we first met, when I knew I loved her, what this date was like, when she first blew my mind. Actually, one Valentine's Day, I wrote a huge journal. It was just my view of our sexual experiences and what was going through my head. Wow. I wrote it for a year and then gave it to her as like, it was supposed to be my secret private journal, but like left it where she could find it. It says for nobody to look at but me. And then she knew it was a Valentine's gift and could read that. And like, I knew it would make her blush and stuff, but I was like, these are the kind of things that Premier Romantic would do. And I just have like an app where I just take notes all the time. Like, ooh, I heard this restaurant's good. Heard her say that she wants to see this concert, just grab that kind of stuff.
How long have you been acting that way? That was like 2010, you said?
Probably 2010 is when we really started to come out of things. It wasn't until like 2012 that it was like just fully implemented. Because 2011 and 2010, we had a lot of highs, but we still had like ups and downs. Yeah. By
in terms of like finances, or in terms of just each other?
Each other. Like, I was more emotional about shit. We had shit to heal, and we had to work through all that. But in 2012, what she saw was she was my priority. Like, there was times where she's like, do you need to go to work? Because I just talked to my CEO. I'm like, look, I'm going to show my wife that she's the most important thing. So I'm only taking speaking gigs where I can take my wife and kids. And I just want to take a lot more time off. We like went up to Park City for the summer. And she's like, do you need to work? She got worried, but we actually did fine that year. Yeah. We just cleaned some stuff up, improved our margins. But she at least realized, because, dude, I made this mistake. We were dating. And there was this time she's like, hey, if I got really sick, would you quit your job to come and take care of me? Mm. And I didn't just say yes. I was like, I have to think about that, because I was young and stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that created an insecurity in her.
Yeah, like, it was maybe if it's convenient, he might take care of me, but what's most important to him is his career.
Yeah. Got it. Wow.
So like, Killing Sacred Cows comes out, puts me on the map, hits New York Times, and that's when Karen and I were at least connected, because I'm just on the road, I'm calling, I'm selling books, I'm working my ass off, I'm growing the business, and she's like, we have 2 young kids, and I feel like you're absent. Yeah. So that's what I had to heal.
Yeah. Did she ever talk about like, hey, I'm done?
No, but she said, this isn't what I signed up for, and never expected this.
Got it.
Like, she thought it wouldn't get better either. She's like, I guess this is just what life is.
That sounded like it was kind of your wake up moment in understanding the marital relationship. Like, that's where you're like, oh, the light bulb went on for you.
Yeah. I mean, what happened was my buddy Jason came over. He's doing some like wet and dry blood work to see how our health was. And I was like a sugarholic back then, because I was stressed out. Everything's imploding, my real estate portfolio. Yeah. And I'm like trying to tell her, like, let's just not have this stuff in the house. She's like, I can't handle it. You're a baby. And like, I just remember at one point breaking down, and she didn't come comfort me, or like, I was just like, holy shit, we're this far gone. Wow. Like, that was the moment. I remember looking in the mirror and being like, and then we had a big conversation that night. The best part about that was it was just great makeup sex during that time, but it was always like up and down versus like just from love. It was like from pure lust because you're just the anger surfaced over and now you're on the other side of it. But
Holy
yeah,
shit.
like I was always like I could handle anything in business compared to what was going on there. Like that was so much harder emotionally.
I think a lot of guys feel that way, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of guys just don't open up to their spouse because they think they're going to disappoint them about where they're at financially.
Yeah.
Because entrepreneurs notoriously think they should be further along. They identify themselves as their mistakes. They have friends that are wealthier than them, so they compare and fantasize that life. And, you know, the reality is during some of our like low cash flow moments, I just was super resourceful. I just had clients be like, hey, I got a great place in Chicago. You want to stay? I'm like, yeah, let's take my wife to Chicago. We'll use some Sky Miles. Or someone's like, hey, you know, I've got this great place. It's a vacation. But we just said yes to those things. I think some people like won't say yes to those. So we had good experiences even during tough cash times.
Because you were just intent. You're like, this is
cool.
It's because of who you are.
And I could even like when we were at our brokest moment, we still had that little A-frame cabin. So I just blindfolded her and drove to the cabin asking her questions, put rose petals to the bed, took a VHS of our first movie we ever watched when we were dating. And like, she had an epic time because it was just the thought. Those are the things money can't buy. Like we could go to Europe, we could do all that when we have the money. But at the same time, if there's not as much thought or it's not as like connected or it's not like part of our story, it's just an experience. It's still great, but it's maybe not as special.
And it doesn't take much more effort or thought. It sounds like you're just a little bit further down the thought path.
Every time you have a thought, capture it. Oh, she says she likes this. Capture it. Just put it in your phone.
Yeah. Then
you can just review that. Or someone like I just would go ask people, what's the coolest date nights you've done? What's the most romantic thing you've ever done for your dude? This is the best. Okay, that's one of my buddies. I'm like, what's the most romantic shit you've done for your wife? He's like, oh, I like to read her these stories. I bought this book called My Secret Garden. Dude, so I buy the book. It's obscure, can't find the damn thing. Have to buy it like from eBay or some shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Italy. I've like switched out the light bulbs with amber lighting so it's more dim in the room. I've got rose petals, I got the right wine, and like we're about to, you know, hook up, and I'm like, I got a book I'm gonna read to us. And this book's gonna like really put us in the mood. Bro, the first story is about this woman named Madge, which is the least sexy name ever, Madge.
Yeah.
She goes in this room.
Rhymes with
Madge. And there's a 14-year-old boy tied up to a pole.
Oh, Jesus.
Then an Alsatian dog starts licking her while a big black dude roughs her up. And I'm just like, she's like, what made you think that this would turn me on? I'm like, look, our friends told us that this was the book that they go with. So they happen to be flying to Italy in a week. So I saved the book and we're going from Rome to Florence. And I'm like, hey guys, just want to read a story. Start reading it. I'm like, thanks for the recommendation. I'm like the driver. We have a private driver. I know. He's like, what is wrong with these people? And he tries to say, no, we started with the stories in the back and went to the front. I'm like, you're not Japanese, bro. You started at the front. You're sick as shit. But like, I still have that book. I brought it on stage when I won a recent comedy thing and read excerpts from it.
Oh my God.
But like, most of the time I get badass advice. Every now and again, I get a story that we get to laugh about and make fun of our friends for. Dude. Yeah.
Bro, so you've been at this like game of showing up and showing radical intention and investment. No wonder she's your big supporter and has been.
Yeah. And she's good at like letting me go through my process, but calling me on my shit. Mm-hmm. So she's not overly harsh.
Yeah.
And even if she knows where we're going to end up, she'll just let me process through.
Yeah, you gave me a great example about that one she did recently about being around guys more. Do you want to share with that one? That was funny.
Yeah, dude. Like, when you invited me to...
It's such a perfect, like, woman thing to say. Like, that's an epic woman way of doing it.
So she's sitting there, like, she tells me a story. Like, she's like Jesus or something from the Bible, not just giving you the answer, but giving you And she's like, yeah, you know, our friends, they're not doing great in their marriage. And so, you know, I'll just spare their names. But, you know, G called... the jiu-jitsu instructor and said, hey, you need to hang out with me. He just needs a guy. he's just not doing great. He's like in a mental funk. He's just playing video games. It's not the guy I know. And so he calls, he's like, hey, you're going to be with me. We're going to roll tomorrow. I'm closing down the gym. It's just me and you. We need some guy time. Want to know what's going on. And he said, that dude walked in the house kind of with a pep in the step. And she's like, what's up? Oh, my buddy called me. We're going to go do jiu-jitsu tomorrow. And she's like, you need to hang with some dudes. Because I was just going through like separating from selling my business and divorcing and unwinding a partnership.
Yeah.
And she's like, why don't you hang with some guys? Why don't you have a bunch of guys up at the cabin? Why don't you call you, like, why don't you go, you know, what do you want to do with your friend? Go call Reagan. He's your bro. Like, you know, yeah, Keith invited you. You know you're going to have a good time. She just like encouraged it because she knows, like, because early on in our marriage, I said, you need to have a woman you can confide in. I used to tell her, I'm like, just that you can trust so you can bitch about me.
Yeah.
Because we had a rule. We don't complain about each other to our parents.
That makes sense.
Because we'll get over it and they won't.
That's wow. That's really true.
That's Carrie's advice. She's like, you can bitch about me to your friends, but just never to your parents. She says, because we're going to be fine, but they're going to remember it. So,
that's really
you know,
true.
I was like, well, you need a female that you could just go to and you can say whatever. You can say, Garrett did this. I don't like what he's doing. And you can vent so you don't hold that in or fight with me about it. If it's not a big deal,
yeah,
you can just move the energy. And so like she remembered that and then returned the favor with me hanging with my friends, hanging with my bros.
Yeah, she clearly gets it.
Yeah,
she gets it. Do you feel like as a husband, I mean, you're taking it's almost like you're taking the effort a man would take in business to really get the details down to make sure that he's operating in the way he should be, and you're just applying it to your marriage.
Dude, we hired a guy named Dino. He had a program called The Business of Marriage.
Really?
And we just sat down with him, met with him once a week. Because I said, see, when I came up and I was like, oh, I'm mediocre in my marriage. I'm like, I looked at other areas of my life where I was extraordinary. I'm like, why am I extraordinary here and not my marriage?
Yeah.
First thing I was like, what books have I read on marriage? None. I mean, you know, the 5 languages, love languages when I first married or whatever. So I ordered 10 books on Amazon that night. One of the ones I got that was epic, because I know you've read it too, is Athol Kay's book.
Oh, yeah, it's right behind you.
Yeah.
Back there somewhere.
That's why I saw, I hired him to coach me.
Hell yeah. You read the book all the way through, or were you, how far through?
I read the book all the way through, reached out to him. And then he was like, I was applying the book. I was running the map so hard that Carrie's like, I don't think I can handle this volume and I need a break. Like I was just masterful with running that book.
Okay.
And she knew I had a book. And I was like, oh, I don't want you to read it because I want you to know my playbook. You know, like I went on her phone, I put Lord and Master when I call, so it says Lord and Master. She put Sexy Kitten in mine. Like, you know, just like I used everything in that book for a while.
Wow.
You know, so it was pretty rewarding and fun.
Yeah.
So just bought books and I was like, I pay for coaches in my business. Why am I not paying for it in my marriage? And I was like, why am I not hanging out with people that have great marriages? And I had a rule for 6 months. Anyone going through divorce or unhappy in their marriage, I was just going to take a break from them. I didn't want them to infiltrate my mindset around my marriage being mediocre. I wanted to get to extraordinary. So I just was really selective with who I spent my time with. And I just established certain rules. I was like, all right, babe, if I'm gone more than 4 nights in a month, I take a day off during the week. All right, let's always have a book on the trips that we look forward to because we start to enjoy the trip the second it's booked. So we always have a trip on the books. We're going to Hawaii this month. So that's on the books. Like we've been thinking about it for a couple months because it's been on the books. Right, we're already experiencing it, talking about it. Like, half of the fun sometimes is just the anticipation.
Fuck, that's so true. Yeah, that's why I think scheduled sex is amazing.
Dude, you changed my life with scheduled sex, dude.
What do you mean?
Like when you talked about, you were in St. Louis in the most Christian crowd ever as a former pastor, and you're telling these jokes. But one of them, you're like, "Yeah, we schedule sex. Do you not get a reservation at your favorite restaurant?"
Yeah,
and I was like, "Shit." So that changed because then she can cuddle with me, not think I'm just going to try to fuck her 24/7.
Yeah.
Right. So like she became more cuddly. She became more like, like
the thing you wanted, like the affection.
Tickle. Yeah. All the affection. Cause before she told me, dude, this is embarrassing. She's like, I feel like I'm prey in my own house. Like you're smacking my ass. You're always like, if you see me, you're like on me. Yeah. And then like
wow.
And
that's a really just good description.
We change it from calling it like, cause you say, you want to have an appointment. We just call it, are you ready for our connection time? So I don't like the word appointment because it feels transactional. Yeah, you call word connection.
Oh, connection.
Yeah.
Okay, got
What's our connection time? We have connection on Wednesday and Sunday that's scheduled.
Got it.
So yeah.
Well, and that just eases your mind as a man when hey, dude, it actually does the same thing but get back to the always something on the book so you can anticipation. But that's the scheduled sex thing is the exact same way.
And then, so we always have a trip on the books that we can look forward to. She wants to be babied, so I don't ask her a ton of questions about what she wants to do for date night, because now that's a responsibility for her. In our meetings, I might say, what are some things that you want to do? And I'm just taking notes.
Yeah.
So that way, when it's date night, she's just taken care of.
Yeah.
And the rest, you know, like, I think women just hate the hesitancy of like, what do you want to do? It feels unprepared. It feels uninspiring. It's not romantic.
And you would never show up to like a live event or a speech or anything like that. You would.
What do you guys want me to talk about today?
Yeah.
I know that you guys are here. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, like just treat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're wanting the experience.
And then when our kids
are the experience.
When our kids were young, we had a rule: 14 nights away from the kids when they were real young. Because 0 to 4, they're romance and sleep terrorists, dude.
Yeah.
Romance and sleep terrorists. Like,
that's exactly that. We call them cock blocks in married game.
Yeah, they totally are. And like, you know, because they're always they're, you know, like multiple times did I have a little kid, you know, be knocking on the door when something's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing that so many people experience.
Yeah.
So 14,
that's why the day night pad was killer.
14, oh yeah. The 14
nights away from the kids. That was usually like a trip to Europe, but we'd break it in two.
Oh god.
Because one time we went to Egypt for 11 days and our kids just were really kind of like too young. It was hard on them.
Yeah.
So like, but we could do 7 days.
Yeah.
And the first time we went, my wife was crying at the counter at Delta.
Yeah.
And I had to just call someone that was like 20 years older saying, what was it like leaving your baby for the first time? And they talked her through. So we went on the trip.
Yeah.
And then it was like, cool, because we just, dude, I remember we took a trip to Austin right after our second was born. I'm like, why are you so easy? Because when the kids aren't, you know, little and they're just cute but needy from 0 to 4.
Oh man,
so
much.
Needy. Yeah. So it was just like nice to have those trips, nice to have the date nights, nice to have a little bit of support.
Yeah.
Like so that we could have our time together. And we just had a rule, like we don't talk business or kids after the meeting. So a lot of times our date nights were we do the meeting, then date night. So the meeting is, what do you need? And by the way, just having a weekly meeting meant that when I come home tired sometimes, my wife isn't worried about bringing up a bunch of stuff because she knows she has the meeting.
Yeah.
She knows that she could bring that up because I've carved out time for it where I'm mentally prepared for it.
Yeah.
Which means we don't have to like always be dealing with logistics or details or home fixing. We just have, part of it is we just have too much shit, you know? It's a problem with having enough money to have all the shit, but I need to hire even more people, and I want to hire all the people to manage all the shit that I have.
Exactly. Well, dude, you mentioning something, we have something, the listeners of the podcast, like just literally, I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago, talked about how life-changing our logistics meeting was. We do it here.
Yep.
Or at the house, 30 minutes, both have our calendars out and go, what the fuck's going on this week? And it calms her brain down. She goes, oh, Keith knows where he's committed here. He's acknowledged he'll be there. Like, have you ever invited a friend to something and they said, yeah, they're coming or whatever it was. And then, but you kind of getting sketched at the end. They're not really responding. And you're like, and then they show up and you're like, dude, I'm here. I told you I'd be here. And like, you're like, yeah, but it just would have felt great to just have like a thumbs up or something. That feeling is what I think our wives feel.
Yeah.
When we don't have our logistics meeting.
And because I'm not the best at conveying all the details because I thought I have, but a lot of times in my head.
Yeah.
Or something changes.
Same.
So it's just nice to have that. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, like money in marriage, big thing.
Oh, huge.
So guys, here's something I recommend for everyone. You've got to let your women have a separate account that's just for them.
Tell me about that.
Have to.
What? Okay, tell me why.
So it's good.
I don't have that.
It's
so,
great to have a joint.
It's
great to have a joint account to handle the stuff that you know you have to handle.
Yeah.
Utilities and mortgage payments and food, like all that kind of stuff. Great. Mm-hmm. I always have that account. Then I have a wealth capture account, which is just money I automatically save off the top. Mm-hmm. Carrie and I are both on that account, although I manage it, but she's on that account. She could look into it anytime.
Yeah.
And part of when we sit down is like if people get their money persona, you got to know your wife's money persona.
Talk to us more. Keep talking about it.
So if you know your money persona, like when I was first married and I didn't understand money personas, mm-hmm. I always thought I'm the gas, she's the brakes. Eventually I was like, wait, she's the guardrails and the facts to make sure that we don't have false starts, and I'm the accelerator when it's the right time. So she gets the details and I initiate a lot of things and then pursue it once it's good for the family. So like once we understood each other's money persona, there was no more fighting around money. Now, part of it's our account structure. I said, she's a conservative planner, which means she wants stability, security. So I said, what does that look like for you? She's like, I need this many $1 million that I know we could access at any time. It's a big ask for some people. For me, it's like, all right. So I just have it in cash value. And every now and again, she goes, how much do we have in cash value? I'm like, I'll just send you the statement. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that way when I'm 40, I'm like, I'm gonna do comedy.
Yeah.
We got the cash value. Okay, you can go be a jackass on stage. That's fine.
Yeah.
I've got this, handled.
Yeah.
So that's important. Then she just has an account. So if she wants to save money, she wants to spend money, she can spend all she wants out of that account if she saved it up and there's money going into that.
How do you determine it's just her own, however, to get the money into that account?
Basically, I pay her for certain consulting type of things for the business because she's always a confidant.
Yeah.
And then that way she's earning an income. And if we ever want to use her credit, that's now valuable. There are some, so basically she has her own money.
Yeah.
So if she wants to spend extra on Christmas or go a little bit more extravagant on the yard or buy clothes, like I've never once said, why do we have so many Amazon boxes coming? Because they're covered in her account. That's her money. I just think that too many guys think I'm earning all this money, they're spending all of it. But I'm like, just let them have the money that they can spend that they don't have to get permission for. They just have the autonomy because they're going to be resentful if they feel like they have to get permission for everything. They're going to feel out of control. Imagine if you had to do that. Hey, can I buy this, guitar? It's $500. Yeah, I don't want to have to ask for that.
Yeah. So
we don't ask for anything. We don't talk to each other about anything that's under $2,000 because she has her account, I have my account, and we're not borrowing the money.
Yeah.
People are in different financial situations, but
people have different financial situations, but our structure seems really similar. While it's the same, like Jesse doesn't have to ask me for anything. You know what I mean? So it's not her own account per se, even though we do have separate accounts for different things and whatever, but it's the same thing. I don't want Jesse. I always feel like for us, it's like, hey, we're like a team doing this thing.
Yep.
And I want her to be able to feel the freedom to do that. But I also know, because we talk about finances, we talk about our goals, we talk about where we're going, that she's earned that because she's an excellent fucking teammate.
Right.
And so it's like we're a team here. And I know my role.
Yeah.
That's fucking.
And if you don't have a joint account, it's probably because you don't have trust. I think joint accounts matter.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're in this together.
Yeah.
And have your own account too.
Yeah.
So you can save, you can spend, you can do whatever that makes whatever your heart desire.
Yeah.
Within that reason.
What's interesting is even though these are the structures I have, Jesse's not a real big spender. I mean, some people might look at me like, dude,
I'm a bigger spender than Terry is.
It's relative, right? Yeah, but Jessie, she grew up even in a less economic situation than I did in certain respects, and so it's really, thinking. I remember one time when I first met her, we were at Target getting something, and she was like, "I don't know if I should get this or this," and it was like maybe a $6 difference. I was like, "Fucking get both," you know what I mean? Like it just didn't register. So all of us on this road from scarcity to abundance have all just a different path. You have taught me so much about abundance. This Money Unmasked book has opened a lot of things.
I'll hook people up with a copy. They just got to DM me. I'll hook them up with a PDF or audio.
What else would you want to say about money that you love to say? And this is, you're probably not as good of friends with most people you're on podcasts on, but I have changed. My life, the way I've seen things has changed because of ideas that have come out of your mouth.
Yeah. Money doesn't value effort. Money values value. And people are so confused thinking they put in the effort and they deserve the money. No, man, all money cares about, money chases value. So you got to learn how to create value, which comes from co-creation and collaboration and delegation and vision. It comes from impact. It comes from service. It comes from solving problems. It doesn't come from time. People think, oh, if I put in my time. Well, if you didn't put in the right time, it doesn't really matter. Right? If you're not doing the things that are actually valuable to other people, that doesn't matter because value is perspective. So you've got to learn how to add that value in it.
Do you have an image of both you could paint for us? The person that's thinking it's time and then the person that realized value, money chases value?
Yeah, we've been indoctrinated in society to think that effort matters the most because that's how the school system works. If you get a degree, you get paid this. If you get a graduate degree, you get paid more because you put in more time. And yeah, you have more knowledge, but is it the right knowledge? That's the bigger question. Then if you get an advanced degree like an MD or a DDS or a PhD, then you're going to earn more, but it's all time for money construct.
Yeah.
So it's all going through an indoctrination system of, I can now charge more per hour. I can now have the prestige, but you have a student loan that's eating at you. You had all the opportunity cost of investing in residency if that wasn't something you want to do, but your family thought it was prestigious. You're not in the value creation game. You're in the indoctrination game. The value creation game is simply, you see right now that there's major problem with men in their marriage. They're going to fuck the marriage up. They're confused about it. They're emotionally stunted and economic tired. They're toddlers when it comes to their marriage because we just haven't been trained. We become victims so easily in marriage. There's that emotion, get denied. And instead of like, I remember what changed, I read one book and then when Carrie'd say, no, I'm not down for sex right now, I just smack her ass, say, well, I'll get that ass tomorrow then. Instead of being all pouty and bitchy and then have her be like, that's the least sexy thing that happened. Then it was like, wait, there's a little more alpha there. But it's because, we've just been lied to on this whole game. Value comes from impact, and that has nothing to do with time. It has to do with how many people do you reach? How deeply do you impact those people? Like writing a book is a huge advantage because I can be impacting people while I'm sleeping. People could be getting value from me when I'm not around. There's something to the scale and leverage of this, but you have to value yourself enough to put something out there, and you have to be willing to face any insecurities of what people will think, say, or whatever. Because when I wrote my first book, I was nervous about that. Now I don't really give a shit. If someone says something negative about me on the internet, it has zero impact on me at all. It makes me want to be a smart ass for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just have their own insecurities, so they won't focus on value because they don't value themselves enough. I kind of hear like Vince Vaughn in the background saying, you're so money, you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And I feel like we lose a sense of who we are in the pursuit of money instead of the pursuit of our best life, where money then follows our best life versus circumventing our best life in the pursuit of it. Meaning the win is in the work. Like when you create an extraordinary life, you emanate a different energy. You have a different level that you bring to people. And when we're in the world of finance and they're telling you to budget your life away, you become miserly and no fun. There's so much contention within marriages over that. There's so much, it's like a conundrum. The best way out, like I was talking to you, I'm like, dude, why are you firing on all levels? You're like, I invested 20 grand a month and became accountable for every area of my life. And that 20 grand was coaching for you. And I was like, dude, I just dropped 200 grand to get some coaching and I'm ready to up my level of accountability. And we have to leave behind that victimhood. But money becomes a story where we identify ourselves as our money instead of money as a byproduct of who we are. And when we identify ourselves as our money, we always feel inadequate because someone else always has more or seemingly has more. So it's a never-ending pursuit of someone's life other than our own. And when we pursue someone else's life and not our own, we never at our full power because there's not a full expression of love. There's not a full expression of energy. There's not an attraction of everybody we're around because everybody feels the fakeness. And we don't carry around a sign that shows our net worth behind us, yet we carry it mentally. And it's this comparison game that leads to jealousy and envy at the expense of expression and expansion. So we think it's this outward pursuit where it's an inward pursuit that gives us power outwardly. But when we skip the inward pursuit, pursuing only what's outward, then we lose the game because we're never the full version of who we are. We're never excited. We're never like, why are you so fun to have around us? Because you're living that life. You're living the married game life. You're uplifting people. You're bringing more fun. The same things that you bring are like being impeccable with your word and bringing a lot of fun. You bring that into a brotherhood, not just in your marriage. So it just uplifts. It's like, yeah, I want to be around Keith. We're going to have way more fun and we're going to learn at the same time. You give me space to share what I share. Like, so you can see that money is really this, I call it money unmasked because the mask of money is that we think money will solve all our problems. Hey, money, make me happy. And there is no doubt that is an ingredient to happiness because having more money versus less money when we're living on purpose is a gift. It's going to be a gift to fly private versus, in coach. It's a gift to be able to have a lot more of your time because you have hired the right people. It's a gift to do the things that you do very best and then let everyone else handle the stuff that you could delegate so that you're the best version of yourself. But that's a different game than most people believe because they think money is how much do I have in my 401k? How much is my net worth? How much equity do I have in this home? And none of that has to do with you being a fucking badass. It has to do with scarcity of, do I have enough? And you know what that really says? Am I enough? And as soon as we can understand what does it take to be enough, we're going to more abundantly create more money in our lives.
Do you think that some people just have understood that earlier than other people, even quote unquote people that are not even good people, but they're fucking rich as fuck? Did they just unlock that abundance? Like, hey, I deserve this. What? Do you know what I'm saying?
Dude, I remember 20 years ago in Vegas, hearing Trump give a speech. And I was like, this dude has an irrational delusion of what's possible in his life. He was just like, we're going to build the most magnificent building in all of Vegas. And I'm like, he's not going to swing a single hammer. He's just speaking into the world. And so part of it is some of the wealthiest people have mastered rhetoric. And we use rhetoric and we think it's a negative connotation. Like rhetoric is we speak something into existence that doesn't exist until we are bold enough to speak it. And politicians use rhetoric, but they abuse it because they say something that's not real in order to grow a following, but then they aren't committed to those words. That's not actually rhetoric. It's just what people have classed it to mean. So the people that are wealthiest value themselves enough to speak something miraculous into existence that they could never achieve by themselves, but have the confidence and they're bold enough to speak it. So that's the key, is we have to embrace that all wealth is built through conversation. And we're either telling stories of poverty or prosperity. And most people are telling stories of poverty to protect themselves because they don't want to be seen as lesser, or they don't want to be seen as their mistake, or they feel guilt and shame, or they feel they're confused about money, or they're confused about relationships. And so they're in their head, and all that gets where they now speak small. Because what if they say something that doesn't come true? They don't want to be judged, because they've already judged themselves and condemned themselves to a small life. So if you could be valuable enough to speak rhetoric into existence, like I want to be the most impactful financial teacher on the planet. I want to be the money Jesus of our time, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And that takes a rational level of thinking, but a reasonable amount of commitment.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever said what I just said before, so thanks for bringing that out.
It's the man cave. This place is a creator's fucking heaven, dude. This is creation going on here. Yeah, that's this is, you're talking about identity and how to shift a man's identity from I'm not worth it to I'm worth it. Meaning I'm worth it. It's worth putting in the time to make myself better because I'm worth becoming better, or I'm worth gaining a skill. I'm worth gaining a knowledge.
The first words in this book are, what would you do with $1 billion?
Yeah.
And that is the question of identity in that moment. Because some people are like, that's too much money. I don't even know. How much could I buy? What could I create? There's all this confusion that happens in someone's head. It's a confronting question.
Can I tell you my first answer?
Yeah.
I know we're going to do some good with this, but we are first going to go have so much fucking fun. I'm going to get 10 of my best friends and their wives and their children. We're going to go fuck off.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back in 30 days and we're like, all right, let's go do some real good with this. Is that close to yours?
That's great. I mean, for me, when I was first asked that question, I felt small. I was in my 20s and I was like, I don't know how to handle that. I just knew it's a big enough number. You're not thinking of what you could spend.
Yeah.
You could do like 30 days. We could go all out. And you're like, cool, there's still $900 million left if we got if we went to Monaco and we rented helicopters and we, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
did the
only,
once in a lifetime. And there's our first 100 million. That thing's gone.
Yeah.
We got 900 left.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, if you start thinking about completely transforming an industry, it's a small amount of money. Yeah. If you're thinking about what you do by yourself, it's a big amount of money. And that was the shift for me.
Oh, Jesus. Look at you doing some reframing.
I was like, damn, I just need to collaborate.
What are some other principles? Because you just keep talking and my mind just keeps going, oh, yeah, that's right. That feels good. That feels real good. this becoming worthy, this identity shift. Have you found that when somebody starts to buy a little nicer clothes, have you seen this? Some of our friends have gotten nicer clothes or gotten exotic cars, have gotten some of these things. I'm working in the same stuff myself. I'm having the world's best truck being built and I'm getting an exotic.
Yep.
And I just feel differently about how I view myself in the process of getting these things.
I made a little goal for myself. And I'm like, if I hit this goal, I'm buying my wife a Porsche. And if I hit this goal, I'm buying myself an entirely new wardrobe. And I got too extreme because you saw I got down to like 187 pounds and 5.6% body fat. That fucks your testosterone up, by the way.
Yeah.
First time in my life, I was like indifferent about sex. I still had it because I was like, I got to keep these habits going.
I got to keep the habits up.
Like, my wife was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then she didn't like that I was just so like, there was no softness to me, right? Just like a hard rock and bone. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to hire a personal shopper. Flew to Dallas and just bought a whole new wardrobe. And I remember Ian Stanley came over and he's like, put on my coats. He's like, this thing's epic. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I feel different in this thing. He's like, what'd you spend on these clothes? I'm like, 15 grand. He's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, dude, 15 grand? Yeah. We spend 15 grand on a lot of shit in this world.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think of where 15 grand can bring me as much happiness as a new wardrobe. You know, just like, I lost the weight. I bought all new sizes. I donated everything else, cleaned out the closet. Like, you know, that's a lot cheaper than an exotic car.
Yeah.
But those can appreciate. I'm just not, I had a Bentley and it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't my jam, but I'm cool when it is someone's jam. You know?
Well, have you just seen it? You've worked with so many people and their money and their habits and their ideas.
They value themselves enough to spend the money.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, even when you look at like, if you look at my comedy special, look what I spent on that thing, dude. The set alone and stuff that we bought and had to just throw away was 75 grand.
Wow.
We built a stage that just went in the garbage the next day.
Wow.
We
How much did you spend?
All the brick.
Did you tell people or
750 grand total?
Yeah.
You know, but look, my executive producer charges $1 million to direct a comedy special. I got him for a bargain. And part of the expense was $30,000 in COVID testing because this was in 2021.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, we did a pretty elaborate intro with a kind of that money rap video.
Yeah.
Like it was like a piece of art for me. So I think the total hard cost was $503,000. But like, if you include, you know, just some of the peripheral things that to help it happen.
Wow.
So.
And it created somebody different in you, didn't it?
Dude, I'm transformed because I got hernia surgery November of 2020 and I was laying, eating gummies, just like couldn't walk, just, you know, not feeling great. And my manager's like, you're gonna do a comedy special. And I was like, who am I to do a comedy special? So I start watching the Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling.
Okay. And
he's going through the same insecurities in his head. I was like, all right, I could do this. So as soon as I could get out of my dark room, I just said, all right, we're gonna do it. We did it April 15th. That was November 15th when I made the declaration.
Wow.
So 5 months to prepare. The best 5 months. I turned my basement into a comedy club. I had a curtain and a mic and a old school stool that my mother-in-law used to have as a teacher. God. And I had a mic stand and I would do Zooms.
Yeah.
Like if you could do comedy on Zoom, you can do it any other way, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And like everything kind of happened. Like I watched Nate Bargatze's special and he made fun of how he did a Zoom and nobody laughed. And I was like, okay, cool. Like if Nate can do it, I could do it because he's saying, he's one of the best in the world. And so like I just had all this encouragement and I just watch a comedy special every night. I go 5 to 6 p.m., do my set, 6 to 7:30, watch a comedy special, write down a couple notes. And then I just did that for 5 months. I walked the neighborhood every day working on my material. Sometimes just me and my dog, sometimes me and my assistant, me and my wife, me and my kids, like just walking every day, being outside, working on this material, inviting people I hadn't hung out with for 10 years to come to the special, rekindling relationships. Dude, Garrett and I hadn't talked forever. I sent him a clip from the comedy special. He's like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. And next thing I know, I put him up on Comedy Store because you coached him through it. So like, it was just this amazing experience. So I had to face my insecurities, do something that was pretty unreasonable, but turned out pretty fantastic. And it took a while to get it on Amazon Prime, but it was amazing when it hit Amazon Prime, my 46th birthday. It was that day.
I remember you called me.
I called you, you pulled over.
Yeah.
And I called my wife first, you second.
Yeah.
And then I just remember my son saying, why not Netflix? It's like, all right, dickhead.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a rookie.
Yeah. Bro.
Amazon's, number 2. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Or, Netflix would have been number 1, but shit, it's pretty good for a rookie.
Yeah.
With no social media. There was no nobody knew I was a comedian if they didn't show up to a show, right?
Yeah. Did you do a lot of that through email marketing, just from your email list you built and stuff, or friends?
Favors from friends, because I sold my company.
Yeah.
We had 400,000 names in our database. That was gone. They sent a couple emails for me, but I just called my friends and they packed the house in their cities.
Yeah.
We sold out almost every city.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, oh, so-and-so's in Dallas. Let's have him. He'll bring some people, right?
Yeah.
I was like, great. If they want to be on stage and they could bring a group, then let's do it.
Yeah.
And dude, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs that I put on that stage to do comedy killed it.
Yeah.
They did great.
Yeah.
They were fun.
They really did, man. Bro, as you come back to this city more often,
I keep not talking about money.
we have to just keep having you back and talking about it and keep blowing the minds, because it's just really, there's an energy around money that is so real that most people stay broke. And that's just mind blowing to me, because it's like, there's just skills. You learn the skills. Is it the emotion? Why are so many fucking people broke, dude?
Well, check this out. I had a client. They hosted events all the time, and they had tons of money sitting in their checking account. I said, hey, I want you to go to the bank. It's going to take you a couple weeks to do. I want you to get all your cash out in actual bills. They had to sign, because when you pull more than 10,000 out, a lot of banks don't have the cash. But they pulled out hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they put it in a briefcase. And they put it in the foyer outside of their room where the event was happening, and they put cameras on it. And they're like, well, what if someone takes it? I'm like, trust me, no one will even go close to the money. There were people that would see the money and walk away. You could just watch, it was confusing to them. They were scared of it because they'd never seen that much cash in one place. Wow. And then they brought the cash in and did a whole explanation of why did you walk away? There were people that didn't even see it because subconsciously they couldn't even bear to think that was real. Was it a clear case with money? Or? It was just a briefcase that was open with cash in it. Oh, it was open. Real cash. You could see. So you could see all the cash. They had cameras on it, so they could just see people's reaction. It was a body language. They're body language experts. Yeah. And then they showed the body language of people around the money. Oh my God. And so all these people have confused what money is because someone they love said, oh, they're a bad person because they have money, or they'll do anything for money, or you can't be spiritual and have money, or you know what, whatever the story is. And so they hold that subconsciously. And then they go, well, I didn't earn it. Or, and this is the hard thing. People just suck at receiving. It's just, they're not good at it. They're good at giving. Like a lot of entrepreneurs give, but they don't know how to receive. But receiving will take them to a new level of prosperity because that's where collaboration is. And I feel like God gave me gifts I didn't earn, just gave me the gift. So I just go, thank you. Thanks for the grace of God, and just accept it and receive it. So if someone's like, hey, I'd love to give you a gift, I'm like, cool. I've just been good at receiving gifts, And I think that a lot of people aren't because they feel like I have to work hard for it. And what will it say about me? What relationships will I lose? What will they think about me because they thought this of other people? And I want to be seen as good, so I'll remain broke. Like there's virtue in that for some reason. There's so much guilt and shame around money. Why? Guilty for having too much when the world's got all these people that don't have it. Shame because I should be further along and I made these mistakes and it cost my family. How do you get over both of those? Let's do the guilt one because I've worked through that as well. I'm not actually, I'm working through that. Yeah. There's 3 layers to this. We all have a money story. The first layer, you and I have talked about this before, is what we tell people. We tell people what we want them to think. So either what we don't mention or what we do mention is a preservation and protection statement with our money. And so then people will let these 2 excuses always go. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. Cool. That's a societal agreement. You're saying I know people with millions of dollars in a 401k say I don't have the money to invest in therapy, to invest in my business, they have it, but it's separated because that's their protection mechanism. That's if they took that and invested in themselves and it doesn't work out, they have to be responsible. If they give it to someone else, that's their fault and they have someone to blame. It's the victimhood that's entrenched in so much of
responsibility
humanity.
is the big weight.
So the second layer is the things that we say to ourselves, but we never say out loud. We've all had a money story that we've talked in our own mind that we don't want to share with anyone else because of embarrassment, because of shame, because of hiding it. And as soon as we speak that to someone else, it stops to have control over us.
Yeah.
The first time we start speaking it out loud to a peer, to a mentor, to a spouse. And then when we speak that, we can get to that third layer, which is the stuff we can't see. We can't see it because it's hidden behind what we're afraid of. And when we deal with what we're afraid of, it shows us what's really underneath it all. And what helps with that sometimes is therapy, somatic therapy, 5-MeO, journeys, EMDR. There's a million ways to deal with it once you're aware of it. But the way you get aware of it is you share the things that you're afraid to share to get to the things that are holding you back. I mean, you can go, what's your first memory of money? Good or bad? When was the first time you felt like money prevented you from having what you wanted? What did that tell you about yourself? When's the first time that you felt like money gave someone else something that if you had the money, you could have had? Where did money replace the word love at some point in your life? You just go through these kind of questions to resolve that kind of sludge.
And just be honest with yourself as you're working through it, and just
if you have a safe space. Like what I find is I'm not a therapist. I don't have any degrees, but when people come to my cabin and we spend a whole day where I consult, we get to this place a lot of times where they'll start sharing things they've never shared because I've created a safe space and I've shared first. And then they can heal from a lot of this kind of stuff.
What's the biggest thing you share that lets them go, oh, I can talk to this guy? Do you share that, or is that
Oh yeah, like if it's the thing I most recently shared because I was embarrassed about it, someone's like, I could just tell like they're holding on to something. I'm like, I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in an NFT with Steve Aoki that he just abandoned. So it was wasted money. Just gone. I'm this age. I should definitely know better doing what I do. But I just thought, well, my son will think it's cool and we're going to do a song together. It's like, it was a terrible investment. And I was warned that it was going to be a terrible investment. Did it anyway. And they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, I'm embarrassed about it, but not enough that I'm not going to tell you. And right when it happened, I told my wife that day. And she's like, how much did we lose? I was like, 6 figures? Yeah. How much did we lose? $250,000? It's like, but a lot of people hold that back. Yeah. So that'd be one example. Or I had a client that was worried about a lawsuit. I'm like, I got sued once and I was found not guilty, but so the process was like, this is what I learned. These are things I feared. Yeah. You're going to try to shrink because you don't want to be seen. And when you're not being seen, you're actually already lost the lawsuit no matter what happens. So like, it just depends on the conversation. Maybe they're struggling in their marriage. I'll just share my shit with my marriage. Like I'm open book about anything.
That tends to give you a lot of power, doesn't it?
Right. And you've seen it. I mean, you're that way. Our friends are that way. A lot of times you're like, damn.
It's like the path to freedom, because you come out of fantasy land and you start dealing with facts and you start going, oh shit. Yeah. At every level that I'm trying to expand my mind, 2025 this is going to be a year for me in the things that I'm really diligent about working on right now. And it's shocking how simple some of these things could have been to get over like a long time ago.
One conversation. We're one relationship or one admission away from a new level of prosperity.
Yeah. Well, hey, this felt good.
By the way, I have some really cool interviews where the couple that hosted my wife and I for the, when we got together in 2010 and kind of rebuilt our marriage. I have an interview. John Butcher interviewed her. We have the guy we hired, Dino, interviewed us. So if you want to hear my wife's perspective, and I have like our weekly agenda, our quarterly agenda, I'll just give everybody that. They could just DM me on Instagram, Garrett B. Gunderson, and I'll hook them up with the documents.
Is that where you want them to send everybody?
Yeah, just go to Instagram, follow me.
Garrett B. Gunderson.
Yeah, Garrett B. Gunderson. I just finally, 10 years later, then I should have launched a podcast, because why not? You know?
Yeah.
We need more white people telling people what to do is what I thought.
Yeah,
so,
well, hey.
White men, especially. So
with gray hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we needed another one. I was wondering. We felt short in the force.
Yeah, now I think it's finally like,
Yeah, it's
like the Trinity.
This is the This is a topic that dude, sex and money are two things that are just a real fucking
super emotional,
and they're very confronting.
So easy to be victim about,
and so easy to want to hide where you're really at. Protect. You said
pretend and protect.
Pretend and protect. Yeah, that's some good shit. Well, hey,
that was fun.
Garrett, anything else?
Thanks, brother. No, man, love you.
I do a closeout.
All right.
So we're ready for a closeout?
I'm ready for a closeout.
You're still part of it, though.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So, hey, go follow Garrett. Is it GarrettBGunderson.com as well?
GarrettGunderson.com.
Garrett Gunderson.
Garrett B might get you there, but GarrettGunderson.com.
Is it 2 R's, 2 E, or 2 R's, 2 T's? Yeah.
S-O-N.
Okay. S-O-N for the Gunderson.
Yeah. They should get on my newsletter. It's pretty badass.
We're going to link everything up. When you start talking about money, like I'm feeling more set free literally just having this conversation. That is a good fucking epic feeling. Nice, that's a really epic feeling. I feel more abundant. Yeah. So listen, there is no limits to anything we get to do. There's no rules to anything that's going on except love your neighbor and go after everything you fucking want. So with that being said, if you are stoked about marriage or not so stoked about your marriage and you want to fix it, you can go to marriedgame.com. If you want to learn more about money or any of the things that Garrett talked about today, go follow him at Garrett B. Gunderson on Instagram or GarrettGunderson.com. Garrett, I fucking love you, man. Yeah, I'm so stoked you came out, and I'm looking forward to many more years of real fun memories we get to create together. So keep crushing it, because that shit is contagious.
Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Yeah, I told him I'ma hit it out of stands.